Hi, in this video we will discuss the most important component of the equation of line, which is the slope of the line. Now, let's quickly understand that the line can have actually two kinds of directions. For example, one line is visible, that is the blue line, and the another one could be the line such as the green line. There could also be different kind of lines. For example, I can also draw a line that goes exactly like this, which is parallel to the x-axis. So we need to understand that what kind of slopes will these lines have when we are talking about their slopes. So the first and the most important thing is that if you see any line such as the blue line, it is considered to be the line with positive slope. So how do we ensure that the slope is positive? See, if you have to remember, then I can just simply say that we always look at a line from left to right. If a line is going in the upward direction from left to right, then it is considered to have the positive slope. And likewise, if a line is going in the downward direction when you look at it from left to right, then it is bound to have the negative slope. Mathematically, you can understand it this way. The slope, which means m, is given by y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Which means if we consider any 2 points, for example, on this blue line, let's take that these 2 points are x1, y1 and the other point is x2, y2. Then we can see that x2 is greater than x1 and y2 is greater than y1, which means the numerator is positive as well as the denominator is positive. So the blue line will bound to have the positive slope, right? Similarly, if you look at the line, the green line, then you see, let's call this point x1, y1 and let's call the other point x2, y2. Now we can understand that in the case of green line, y2 is greater than y1. We are calculating the slope in exactly the same way. Y2 is greater than y1, so the numerator is positive. See, the y2 is this distance while y1 is this distance. So y2 is greater than y1. But x2, because it's even to the left of x, so has to be less than the x1, and therefore x2 minus x1 will be negative, and that will result in the negative slope. However, the line that we have drawn, which is parallel to the x-axis, is considered to be the line with zero slope. That means it's a line that does not have any slope because it does not have any inclination from the positive x-axis. A line is supposed to have slope only when it has some inclination from the positive x-axis into anti-clockwise direction, and that is how the angle is measured, angle of inclination. So the line parallel to x-axis is considered a zero sloping line, and a line parallel to y-axis, we don't define the slope for it, because if we were to say the slope, then we will have to say the infinite, but the GMAT says that the infinite is not defined. So we say that a line parallel to y-axis is simply the line parallel to y-axis. It does not have any slope. So that's how we understand some basic things about the slope. Now, the moment we have understood these basic things about the slope, we must also understand a couple of more things. When we have a line with the positive slope, then there is some peculiar thing about this slope in respect of the quadrants. Now we call this quadrant the first quadrant, this quadrant is called the second quadrant. So the first quadrant has both x and y coordinates positive, the second quadrant has x negative, y positive, the third quadrant is here, which has both x and y coordinates negative, and the fourth quadrant is here, which has x coordinate positive but y coordinate negative. And a positive sloping line essentially passes through first and third quadrant. It always passes through these two quadrants. That's a must. If a line does not pass through first quadrant, then we can ensure that the line definitely does not have a positive slope. Now here, some of the students start assuming that what if I draw a line such as a line like, let me just quickly draw here. Now they say that this is not a line that passes through the first quadrant. Then here, let me just quickly make this clear distinction between the two terms. One term is line and the second term is the line segment. When we say the line segment, then it has some starting point and some ending point. Therefore, a line segment has a particular distance, particular length of the line. So what we are representing here is actually a line segment and not a line. A line is an infinitely long entity extended in both the directions. So it does not have any starting point. It neither has any ending point. So the line with the positive slope must pass through the first and the third quadrant. And similarly, if we have the line of negative slope, then it definitely passes through two quadrants again, and passes through the second and the fourth quadrant. You can see the green line like this, which has a negative slope, cannot be drawn if it does not pass through the second or the fourth quadrant. It must pass through the second as well as the fourth quadrant. right? So that is how we look at the slope, and the line slope can also be confirmed based on their intercepts. For example, if I say that there is a line which has both x and y intercepts positive, then you see, if we have to consider both x and y intercepts positive, then we just take two random points which are clearly simply the giving us an estimation of what kind of line will look like, and such line will always have a negative slope. So the intercepts, when combined together, will also help us understand the slope of the line. So these are certain inputs that you need to understand, that they can help you get the slope, at least the sign of the slope. And whenever we see any equation of the line or any question of the line, the first thing that we should question is the sign of the slope. That means we should first of all try to understand whether slope is positive or slope is negative. Now, having discussed this part, I would like to extend it further with the help of a few examples. So after this video, you will see a couple of questions that will expect you to think about the slope of the line depending upon the quadrants that they are passing through, or depending upon the x or the y intercepts that they have. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed learning through this video.